So yeah, hello everyone. My name is Mattia. I'm the newest addition to the Developer Relations Engineers team. Although you might have already seen my face in one of the very old videos about hotel ads. And today we're going to be doing a Meet the Team episode, and I'm here with David Wihl. Hi, David.
Hey, Mattia, how are you?
Everything's okay here. It's a hot summer day. How about you?
I'm doing great. I'm happily in Greece right now, working from remotely and enjoying it very much.
Great. So to get started, I would like to ask you, how would you describe what we do as developer relations engineer to somebody that's not necessarily technical? So how do you describe what you do to, say, for instance, your family?
So we have a role that's bi-directional, that we take new initiatives from Google and we make sure that our key partners are aware of those initiatives and planning for them. But the more challenging part of the job is going in the opposite direction, is taking requirements and needs of our third-party developers who are basing their business and relying their business upon Google and driving their needs and changes into Google. And for that, we have to interact with a variety of different people within Google. We have to interact with product managers, technical leads, with ad management, with the sales organization, with account managers. And that, I think, is the most valuable and important part of my role, is really advocating for our partners within Google to make sure that our partners have everything they need to be successful.
Makes a lot of sense. And I also love the fact that you said our job is about interacting with people. It definitely is how it is. So moving on, what led you to become a developer relations engineer? So how's your story? How did you get here?
I have a non-traditional background. So I started my first company when I was 19, and I've been an entrepreneur most of my career. One of the companies went IPO, one was sold to Microsoft, one crashed and burned. And after the last one crashed and burned, I said, well, I've never really had a college education, so time to go to school and get a degree. And the last startup had uh, was for email triage. As everybody's overwhelmed with too many messages in their inbox, we built at first a rules-based engine for separating out emails. And then we hired a 20-something engineer who had taken one class in machine learning. And in 2 weeks, he had built a neural net to classify emails. And this was before TensorFlow was available. This was before all the toolkits like PyTorch were available. So this had to be done in just straight Python. And I was incredibly impressed that in just 2 weeks, the machine learning was able to um, create rules that were more flexible and by per user. So clearly, the state-of-the-art in machine learning had evolved significantly from the first time I'd studied it many years prior to that. So I decided to go back to school. So I went to school and I got my degree. I ended up being a teaching assistant and a head teaching assistant for a pretty large class of over 200 students that included both the graduate and undergraduate level. And I really loved the teaching aspect to it. And one of my partners for one of our projects got hired at Google. So I went to a job fair and he said, hey, you should come work for Google. And I went through the interview process, got hired. And what I love about this role is it combines a number of those different things. It combines the business aspect of dealing with people, dealing with partners, and it combines the technical aspect. And as we'll talk about Performance Max in a little bit, and includes also this machine learning aspect at a scale that's far beyond what you can do in a startup, but applies the same general techniques and mathematical models. So that's why I fell into this role. It's really very similar to running a small business in that you have to wear a lot of different hats. You have to coordinate on both the business and technical side, and it's ever changing and evolving. So it's a little bit of an unusual route, but that's how I got here.
Sounds a lot of fun. And also, you gave me a perfect segue into my next question, because you said we have to wear a lot of different hats in our job. And that's entirely true. I fully agree with that. And what I was willing to ask you is, what are your own hats? What are your specialties? What are the things that you can do in our team that nobody else does, or you like doing better than anyone else?
Well, I don't want to sound egotistical and say I do it better than anybody else, but I think what I bring to the table maybe is a little bit more of the business experience. So that helps me work with some of our largest partners who tend to be uh, complex and involve lots of different non-technical aspects. So I think that that business aspect helps. And again, the machine learning and the theory. When I started Google, I thought everybody here at Google must be a machine learning expert. I'm just going to be just starting out. And uh, there are unbelievable world-class experts in machine learning and mathematics within Google. In developer relations specifically, there wasn't a whole lot of initial expertise in machine learning. So I think my background, my academic background, and a little bit of practical background helped kind of fill that in, and made me a natural fit to be the point of contact and representative for Performance Max, which is heavily machine learning based.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, in my eyes, you are probably the machine learning expert in our team. So, talking about personal preferences, what would you say is the best thing, or like the thing you like most about being a developer relations engineer? You kind of touched upon this a bit, but what is the thing that you like most about this?
I love the diversity of the role. I love wearing the many hats. If I was just sitting down and writing code all day, I would be kind of frustrated that I wasn't using more of my business and personal skills. If I was just doing um, you know, like a sales and marketing role, I would miss the technology. So I like being grounded as an engineer and making sure that I have technical credibility to do the job, and then being able to add the business component to it. So that mix is hard to find, and be able to work in as a kind of a nexus position where you're in between these major partners and all these different teams within Google. That's the part I love. The variety of, I could be writing code one day and next day working on a presentation that goes to the highest levels within Google's ad management.
Yeah, and again, I fully agree. And wearing different hats also means that we have to learn a lot of new stuff daily. I mean, I personally think I'm learning like tons of new things every day, not just because I recently joined the team, but just it's just part of our job, I think. So, what would you say is like the best thing or your favorite thing you learned over the last year or so?
So this is where we start talking about Performance Max. Performance Max, for those who don't know it, is a way of defining one meta campaign that takes advantage of all of Google's inventory. And that's an exceedingly complicated problem because there are so many different dimensions to what you're trying to optimize. And it's really kind of exceeds the capacity for a human to be able to optimize that in real time. And I think that's why we're seeing the uh, empirical results that we're seeing of Performance Max being more performing than, for example, smart shopping campaigns that already incorporated um, some machine learning aspect to them. So seeing the application of machine learning at that type of scale and that type of complexity for uh, is pretty rare. There aren't that many circumstances in um, in in industry where you see that type of um, technical challenge and that type of dollars involved. So it's really exciting to be a part of that and to see how that grows. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how this scales up. It's already been very successful in its initial start, but the best is yet to come with it.
Yeah, I agree. And then, just the fact that we're basically allowing developers to access Google's machine learning tools at that scale is something that is probably helping them achieve what their business objectives are. But more generally speaking, what would you say is something you do or we do as a team to make developers' life easier? What is like the main thing you think we do to make that easier for developers?
I'm not sure if there's a main thing. I think there's the advocacy portion is probably the biggest thing long term. It's really being a consistent representative voice of our developers to Google. And I think that's a hard thing to do regularly. And then with that comes, oh, so we don't explain this well in our documentation. We need to fix our documentation. People are struggling to understand how to do this. We need to build the code sample for it. We need to create a video. So those are kind of outbound things. And what a lot of our partners don't see is all the other work we do behind the scenes to raise awareness within Google about how third parties use the API. And that tends to be a little bit different use case than UI users. API users tend to operate at higher scale, higher volume. They use more automation. They generate much larger reports. So there's a whole different set of use cases for the ads platform than you'll see with a user-based front end. So that advocacy is really important.
Yeah, it is. And then switching topics and moving on from like work-related topics, like when you're not working, what's your favorite activity? Do you have any hobbies? What do you do to like detach and relax when you're not working?
I'm a bit of a gearhead and a motion guy. I like things in motion. So I'm a private pilot. I've flown myself from Boston to United Kingdom over Greenland and Iceland. I've flown to the Caribbean numerous times, including on missions to help out. So flying is definitely one of my things. And then I like flying in 2 dimensions, which is sailing, and other movement like kayaking, riding my Vespa around. So yeah, movement and transportation is a big thing for me.
All right. Well, that was all I had for you today, and thanks a lot for joining this video and for sharing your thoughts with our followers, which I also want to remind they should like the video if they do like it, and subscribe to our channel to stay up to date with all the new content we're going to be publishing. I personally am going to publish some new videos. You have done some in the past. We have lots of new things coming up on the YouTube channel. So yeah, thanks a lot.